Hi guys, this is Nitin and I welcome you to my startup podcast channel Audio, where we share real stories with real learning. So, friends, my guest today is Shabia Walia. Shabia is a veteran media professional who has had on various hats, such as being a creative director, a script writer, a producer, and she is one of the most sought after creative professional in the television industry in India. In fact, Shabia is also the author of her best-selling book Mama Mania, which received great reviews, and she is currently co-producing a show which is soon to be aired on Sub TV. And if that's not all, Shabia is the founder of Wild Earth, which is into 100% natural, curated, cruelty-free, paraben and sulfate-free skincare products. So in this podcast, Shabia will be sharing with us why and how she launched Wild Earth, the key challenges and the triumphs of her journey, and finally, she has a great advice for the women who intend to take plunge in the entrepreneurship. Hi Shabia, welcome to Audio and thank you for talking to us.
Thank you for having me, Nitin. Such a pleasure.
So let's start with what was the motivation or the idea behind launching your venture Wild Earth?
So, Nitin, 2-3 things happened simultaneously. I was planning to quit media because I had almost been around for 25 years. Parallelly, I have always been very concerned about, what we put on our skin because as you know, almost 75-80% of what we put on our body gets absorbed by the skin. So with the rise in cancer and, the so much of chemicals being used in everything that we consume, I was always very concerned. And I think one thing led to another, and the whole concern of what I put on my daughter led me to the kitchen to make my first scrub, and which I shared with mothers in her school, and I came back with about 6,000 rupees the first day, 10,000 the second day, and then my husband said, yeah, this is a business. So I said, yeah, and I think within 6-7 days we had finalized the name, and that's how it started, really, Nitin. It was just a thing to, run away from media and give something very pure and natural to my own daughter, but I didn't know at that time that it will become a brand. And I also realized, see, when it started with my need, but because there were so many mothers who were ready to be my first testers, I just realized that there was a wide gap there, and this was about 4 years ago when natural and, what is organic and what is chemical free and all these terms were not so common. I mean, people didn't know what are sulfates, parabens, phthalates, and silicone. So I thought that this was the perfect time to start something like this. And I think I just happened to be at the right place at the right time.
Awesome. Now let's talk about some of the key challenges and the triumphs of your journey with Wild Earth.
So initially, when I was making this in the kitchen, and obviously the demand supply was a challenge because, when you're making it yourself, then you can at the most up kitna bana loge. You'll make 50, you'll make 100. And then there were summers, so you're toiling in the kitchen and you're not necessarily a housewife who's used to being in the kitchen for so long, right?
Yeah.
So I just realized that if I was making these myself, then there wasn't any time left to market it. So all my time was going in the kitchen. So I was getting orders like, they were just growing. I mean, UTI Bank came in and ordered about 1,000 hampers. And I realized I couldn't be doing so many all alone.
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to kind of, have a workshop and get into manufacturing it on a bigger scale so that I could put all my energies into marketing. Because you can make a product, but unless you know how to sell it, there is no point in making the product, right? So that's when I decided that I need to, kind of get the manufacturing out of the way and figure out how to scale up. And that's when we started doing this. So that was the initial challenge, to find a partner who would exactly make the product for you the way you wanted it to. That was the initial challenge. Second is also when you're a small business, packaging is a big problem because every packaging person you go to says you should buy 15,000 units or 20,000 units, and you don't really have that kind of capital. And thirdly, you keep thinking which other avenues you should sell on, like should you sell only online or go into retail? So that was one challenge when people used to tell me that yours is a touch smell product, so you should be in retail stores. And I got into a lot of retail stores. We even had a marketing team. But then finally I realized that it was a very expensive proposition, and I shut down my retail division in 2017. despite we doing well and other things, but I just realized that it was eating into my profits from the other three avenues which were doing well, that is online exports and corporate gifting. So I decided that these three will be my avenues and I wouldn't get into, costly commercial retail. So now we are only into physical stores where it's more on a keep your products for free kind of thing, or more than, pay for the shelf and pay for the promoter and pay for the publicity material and then we'll keep your product. So those were the initial challenges we faced. We got a couple of funding opportunities and we used those to, get our socks up and things like that. But eventually we haven't taken any funding till date. We still largely a self-funded setup. So yeah, those were the triumphs that within our first year itself, we got a very big funding opportunity. We were identified as one of the good growing brands in the space. And so I think all those were compliments. We've not had, I think our success rate has been 99% with customers. Rarely anyone has ever said that they don't like our product. Our loyalty rate is very high. Customers who've been buying from us still continue to buy from us, and the cart value has only gone up per customer. So the customer which started at 199 today, immediately buys for 2,000, 2,500. I mean, we have hampers selling out at 3,000 per hamper.
Wow.
So I think, we have just kind of grown very organically. Pure word of mouth, customers refer us to other people. And I think, as I said, mothers have been my largest and most worthwhile brand ambassadors, because when a mother tells you that she used it for her child, you are more likely to trust her, right?
Absolutely.
So, and then the whole family starts using your brand. So that has been good for us.
Great. Now you have donned various hats. You've been a creative head, a scriptwriter, a producer, and even a best-selling author. What would you advise to those founders who are either naive or relatively weak in terms of storytelling, particularly those who are pitching their startups to the targeted investors now?
See, my advice is you will always be good at certain things and not good at certain things, right? But even though I'm good at storytelling, there would be some things I would not enjoy, like probably accounting or making a pitch deck. Only thing is, if you're good at storytelling, then a lot of things get solved, right? But I always say that, on your way up, you should always ask for help. Like I always have depended on mentors and other people who have made it big and other entrepreneurs. I mean, I have quite a network. I myself mentor about 300 entrepreneurs on my FB group called Idea to Income, wherein I give them curated material every day, every week. So I think if you ask for help, there are a number of people who are ready to help. Secondly, I would say once your business starts making a certain amount of money, you always have the freedom to outsource.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you don't know how to put up a social media post, how to build a storytelling, how to, correct your brand messaging, then there are always people like us who are good writers and content writers and who can help you, write those stories for you. So I would always say the first mistake, I think most entrepreneurs, including myself, we always do is we think we have to do everything ourselves. But you don't. If you're earning 10,000 rupees, then you can always spend 2,000 rupees on something which you're not good at. Because anyways, if you're not good at it, you don't enjoy it. And if you don't enjoy it, then anyways, you'll not do a good job of it. So keep the part which you enjoy the most, you. Also the ones which are risky propositions, like if they are dependent on big decisions, then of course they should be you. But a wrong social media post is not going to do anything very damaging. You can always pull the post down. So these things can definitely be outsourced. I always tell people that delegate your tasks in terms of high priority, low priority. Keep the high priority towards yourself, and medium priority, low priority can always go to others, which you can just supervise on a weekly basis or and even if you have to do it yourself, then there are various ways of, just doing it very efficiently, because with all these apps now like Canva and other things, making social media posts has also become a breeze. So I think outsourcing and delegating is very, very key. And as I told you, when I deal with so many entrepreneurs now, I have figured that is a problem which runs across all class and businesses, is that every entrepreneur thinks that he has to do everything himself. And I think that's why most of us don't even scale up that fast, because we're so busy micromanaging things that we are losing sight of the bigger picture.
Great insight, Shabya. Now, what has been your key mistakes or failures along the way, and what were the key learnings behind these?
Okay, so the first mistake I made on Wild Earth, so earlier Wild Earth was called Satwa, and we started doing well, but I had not trademarked the brand. So when the first funding opportunity came from a Japanese company, the first question they asked me was, is your brand trademarked? And I was like, oh, I didn't know that. And when I went to find out about the trademark, Tatva wasn't available because I think it's an agarbatti brand. And in India, I think all scents and perfumeries are under one category. So Tatva wasn't available. And I remember crying for about 2 weeks that I've, worked so hard on this name and now I have to give it up because it wasn't just a name mistake, right? You have to then change your entire packaging, your website, everything. So it was also a costly mistake. But one of my mentors told me, again, I keep referring to mentors because they can show you what probably you are not seeing because you are so down in the dumps at that time. That I said, I'll lose all my customers. How will they know Tatva by any other name? And he said, listen, you have an email list, and how many customers do you have? And I said, about 3,000. And he said, so just send an email telling them that from today my baby is not called Kareena, she's called Karishma, and they will know. And I was like, why? I was supposed to be his brightest mentee in media, right? Yeah. So he said, I thought you will think of this. And I said, but I said, how come I didn't think of this? And he said, because you're busy crying. Yeah. And I realized, yes, when you're like thinking only about the mistake, then you're not really thinking of the solution. So now whenever I mentor somebody or a brand, I always say that, have you got a trademark? And I know a lot of entrepreneurs ask me this question, that is it okay to put money in trademarking even before I know whether my business will be successful? Mm-hmm. And I say, you know what, if on day one you're thinking that your business is not going to be successful, or if it is going to be successful, then there are chances it will not be successful. You have to invest in your business way before your customers do, right? Yeah. And so trademarking was one of those. Then I think, retail, I think I wouldn't call it a mistake. It was a learning curve. I had to explore it to know that while it worked for me, it did not work for me as a cost thing, Yeah. So, and then I think I procrastinated about it for some time, which I shouldn't have done. So probably I should have shut it 4 months earlier. And I sat on it and I thought, and what will everyone think? And then I realized nobody is thinking. Nobody knows what is happening, and I should be the only one taking this decision. So yeah, I think I took that decision 4 months late, but finally I gathered the courage. See, one more thing again, everyone has to remember is you have to save the tree. If you concentrate on saving the branch, the tree will die. Okay? So I finally realized that, this one branch is just hanging low and it is just dropping off, and I need to just cut it off and the tree will remain safe. So the moment I had that enlightenment, I immediately, I think within 2 days, I had, let my marketing team go and shut down all shops, called for my stock back. And so that was another second learning curve. And third is, as I said early on, delegation has always been a problem with me because I've been a writer, and you cannot outsource your writing, right? Yeah. Because you only write like yourself, or you only talk like yourself. You cannot outsource speaking or writing for yourself. So similarly, I also had a lot of problem giving away stuff and parting with it and saying, okay, you do it and I will watch it from far. But then eventually I learned that if you have to grow, just like you let your baby go to school alone, or, cut that umbilical cord, it is similar to your business. So I think those 2-3 things were great learning curves for me, and I'm happy I crossed them and I explored them, and I've become none the wiser now.
Finally, as a successful woman entrepreneur, what would be your advice to those women who are intending to take a plunge into the entrepreneurship?
So, you know what, COVID has been a great insight, okay, because till COVID happened, people used to think that people who were in jobs were very, very secure. But COVID taught us that there is no security in jobs either, because overnight, thousands of people just lost their jobs. So where is the security, right? The second thing is, the only thing holding you back is always fear, right? Unless you do it, you will never know. I mean, you can keep thinking that I'll learn swimming all your life, but if you're scared of putting your feet in the water, then you're never going to learn it. So when I started Idea to Income, I did start it in the COVID times because I realized that a lot of men were losing their jobs and their wives would want to do something which would support their husband's income, right? And even if they had not lost their jobs, they would be having pay cuts. Right? I know a lot of women think that, we can't start a business because we don't know how to manage money. And I always say, but women manage money the best. I mean, we handle our finances, our home budgets, right? I mean, when demonetization happened, people in their shakkar ka dabba had more money than their husbands had ever given them. These are wives managing money, and we always save for a rainy day. We know how to keep money for a rainy day. Yeah. So I was like, and your business will be your baby. How can you not know how to run it? All that you need to know is that you put in 100 rupees, and if you made 150 rupees, 50 rupees is your profit, the rest is your cost price, right? So that if that it just gets bigger, but then there's nothing you can't learn. So I always say life is too short to just keep sitting on the fence and thinking that, oh, one day I will do it. I think you should just jump in, do it. At the most, what will happen? Like there's a saying which says, oh, I can't fly because what if I fall? But darling, what if you can fly higher? So that a possibility, or we human beings always tend to think negative first. I think we should put that procrastination aside and just jump in. And even if it doesn't work, like maybe my retail didn't work, but it was an experience. And that experience has now turned into a great value add when I mentor other brands. When I tell them, go slow. Don't jump into retail so much. I've saved lakhs of rupees for other brands when I have advised them this. So nothing you learn in life goes waste. It's always adds to your experience and your learning and your maturity. So I think whatever you want to do, you should do, because the only regret in life on your deathbed will be the risk you didn't take.
So friends, with this, we have reached at the end of this podcast. Shabia, it was a pleasure to have you on Desire Audio, and thank you for sharing great insights with us.
Thank you, Nitin. Thank you so much. And I would just like to take this opportunity to thank everyone who's listening to this. And if you want to check out our products, do check our website, www.wildearth.in. Thank you, Nitin, for having me. It's been great talking to you.
Are you a founder of an early stage startup and looking to raise funding? Get your startup investor ready before even you start pitching to your prospective investors. For know-how, please visit www.jazaro.in. That is www.jasaro.in.
Lastly, I want to thank all the listeners who took their valuable time to listen to this podcast. Keep rocking, be safe, and don't forget to share.